Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I want to welcome everyone here today. If you're just passing through, please consider subscribing to my channel. You will be welcomed with open arms and loved and accepted here. So just hit that little red subscribe button down there and turn on the notification bell, and you will be notified each time I upload a new video. We are a big loving family here, and we watch out for each other and care for one another. And you are most definitely welcome here. So today I'm just going to go back to my childhood and talk some more about growing up there in South Mississippi with, my brother and my two sisters and my mom and dad living there on what I called Hargrove Hill. It's actually Highway 13 out between that runs east-west from Lumberton all the way over to Highway 49, which connects and then goes on down to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. But all of y'all who have followed me from the beginning and the ones who are new here, I ask that you go back and watch some of my early videos and some of my early childhood stories. That way you'll be more familiar with what I'm talking about. But the ones who have been here with me know that my mother was not a loving or a very kind person to me. She was just very self-centered and selfish and just thought about herself and nobody else's needs. And she wasn't just that way to me. She was also the same way as a mother to my brother and my sister Angela and my sister Bobby. She was just very cold and uncaring. Now, she did her duties as far as being a mother and a wife and taking care of the home and getting our food together and preparing it and cooking and keeping our clothes clean, doing our laundry and keeping the house clean. She was a very good woman in that way, but she just did not ever show any type of love or emotion to us children. Now, when you grow up as a child feeling unloved and unwanted and abandoned, more or less, you do end up with a lot of issues as an adult woman. Your emotional needs were unmet, and unloved daughters tend to internalize those emotional feelings, the things that were said and done to them as a child when they felt unloved and unwanted in the family. And even some family members may have said something to you that made you feel unloved and unwanted outside of the things that your mother did and said to you. I remember my Aunt Bert, she owned the dry goods store there in Lumberton, and I remember being in there one day and I heard her tell my mother, "Oh, you're going to have trouble with that one." What was she talking about? Why did she have to say that mother was going to have trouble out of that one? I was not a troubled child or a disruptive or behavioral problem at all. I was a very good, very obedient child, even through my teenage years. But you tend to internalize those things that you hear about yourself. And most unloved daughters spend their entire adulthood doing things and trying to make their mothers love them, even as we grow up and become young adults and young mothers ourselves. We're always struggling and trying to do things and be the perfect daughter and say all the right things to make our mothers love us. But in my case, that was all useless. It just wasn't there in my mother's heart to love me. Whether or not she loved my sisters more than she loved me, I don't really know, because we were all 4 years apart, and by the time I was really old enough to understand what was going on as far as emotional needs, my sisters were already getting out on their own and leaving the house. But I did ask my oldest sister and my sister Bobby, who's 4 years older than me, "Did mother ever tell y'all that she loved you?" And they both said no. In fact, my oldest sister said that after she got married and moved out of the house, she was sick. And I remember she was renting a little duplex apartment there in Lumberton and working at the the Hertz furniture manufacturing company there, and she was sick one day, and so she had talked to Mother on the phone, and she said Mother came down by to visit her, and Mother had stopped and bought some little yellow artificial flowers and brought them to her. And my sister Angie said that was the first time in her life that she realized that Mother did love her, because she brought her those yellow artificial flowers. I don't ever remember Mother bringing me any flowers, or artificial or real. So I can't really say that I ever felt that my mother loved me. Some people believe that all mothers love their children, but that's just not the case. I wish it could be that way. We all wish that all mothers love their children, but there are many, many of us who were unloved by our mothers. I guess I was probably in my 30s. It was probably after my third child, Jill, was born, that I finally just gave up on trying to be the person that I thought that I should be so that my own mother would love me. I just felt like that she had abused and used me my entire life. My mother had several affairs with different men when we were all growing up. And I remember she used to take me with her. And I was like her cover-up person, or her excuse to go someplace and do things. She wanted to take me to the Mississippi Gulf Coast for a little summer vacation. Well, no, that was not the reason she went to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. She took me to the Mississippi Gulf Coast so that she could meet her boyfriend, whose name was Garland. And I remember that they got a motel room together, and I remember even being in the same bed with them. And I do feel like that I had been abused that night in that motel room. I won't go into details about that, but I do have some pretty bad memories of that. So, I had to be sworn to secrecy. Mother told me that, she said, if you ever tell your daddy, then he will divorce her, and then we would be put in an orphanage. That was her threat. I remember her pointing her finger at me and saying, don't you ever tell your daddy, or he will divorce us and divorce me, and then y'all will have to live in an orphanage. And I always just had this fear and panic attacks, and just this fear of being abandoned and left alone, or being thrown into some type of orphanage. And, that's just no way for a child to have to grow up with all this fear and not knowing what the future is going to bring, or not knowing what the next day is going to be. So with all of these fears and uncertainties and a lack of love that I was always carrying around with me, of course that affected my perception on how to be a good wife and a good mother. Not in a bad way. I learned how not to be a bad wife and a bad mother by watching my own mother. She was, I guess she would pass as an okay wife to Daddy. I mean, he seemed to be happy with her, and, he did love her. Now, I don't have the same feelings towards my father as I do towards my mother, because Daddy did not abuse me emotionally like my mother did. He abused me physically. So I actually have love for my father, whereas I don't have love for my mother at all. In fact, I'm at the point now to where it's just kind of a void. The way that I feel about my mother, I don't hate her, nor I don't love her. I just don't care anymore. It's like, what she did to me and what she didn't do for me as a child, I've learned to finally let go of it, and I'm happy. I'm content in my life today, and I have been happy and content for many, many years. I swore that I would never let the way that my childhood was affect the way that I brought my children up in the world, and I wanted them to have a good childhood, and I really did strive and do my very best to give them a childhood that they have good memories of, and they are wonderful, beautiful adults. I'm so very proud of my son Jason and my daughter Jill. And y'all have met both of them. You know that they're great kids and they do love their mother. So you can overcome a difficult childhood if you were raised similar to how I was, where you felt like your mother was not there for you emotionally. Even though she washed your clothes and took good care of you as far as meeting your physical needs, there was nothing met emotionally. And you can overcome that. And you can become a loving and wonderful woman in your own right. So thank you for listening to my little story today. And please share my videos with your friends and family. And please give me a thumbs up. And y'all just keep on coming back. Bye, guys.